In my mind, the Indic Chronicles is a relook at the narrative of the last 1300 years, what has been taught to us in our history. There are various problems in the way history is taught to us in our history textbooks. Most other regions are ignored. It's not just North India. It's not just a North India focus. It's more a Delhi focus. My interpretation of it is the last 1300 years is not a story of repeated defeats. Last 1300 years is a story of the greatest resistance in human history. Why are our great ancestors reduced to regional history? Why? Bay of Bengal was essentially Emperor Rajen Choda's pond, right? His empire was as big as the empire of Akbar. That's not the impression we get from our history books. Whenever I describe him, when people are going to meet him, there's a lot of, which I genuinely felt when I was describing him, that Emperor Rajen Choda has come, right? Because by that time he's already done such fantastic achievements. If our ancestors could survive those brutal invasions, are we going to lose our culture because we modern Indians are more lost in hamburgers and our Instagram feed?
Hello and welcome to the New Indian Express and another episode of Let's Book It. Today we have with us best-selling author Mr. Amish Tripathi. He has given us the Shiva trilogy, and then came the Ramchandra series, and now he's come out with the Chola Tigers, which is part of the Indic Chronicles. So this book talks about the might of the Chola Empire and their role in avenging the Somnath temple's destruction in the 11th century. So let's learn more about the book and why he chose this topic from Mr. Amish. Hello, sir. Welcome to the New Indian Express.
Thank you.
So when you came out with the Legend of Suhail Dev, was it decided that you will be writing about Rajendra Chola next?
Yeah, it was decided already actually. And because there was a clue left in the Legend of Suhail Dev itself.
Yes.
In the last scene, the Chola general Narsimhan, he tells King Suhail Dev that we got our vengeance on Mahmud as well. And King Suhail Dev tells him, oh my God, I'm paraphrasing, I want to hear that story too. And General Narsimhan says that I'm sure there'll be an author who will write that book as well.
Correct, yeah.
I'm here.
Okay.
The author's here.
Yeah. So when you wrote Suhail Dev, did you have a plan of making it the Indic Chronicles? Was it always going to be a series?
Yes, it was. In my mind, the Indic Chronicles is a relook at the narrative of the last 1300 years, what has been taught to us in our history. There are various problems in the way history is taught to us in our history textbooks. There are deeper problems which obviously the scholars should debate. That's up to them. And the scholars are the ones who read the primary texts and write the scholarly books for us. Then our job as public intellectuals is to read those scholarly books and write mass stories or articles. I think the way, even if the facts are still the same, the way the facts are presented to us has a very biased approach. First is obviously our history has an excessive focus on Delhi. Most other regions are ignored. It's not just North India. It's not just a North India focus. It's more a Delhi focus. Because if you notice, Eastern India is ignored. Central India, King Bhoj, he is ignored. Madhya Pradesh, Chhattisgarh, that area. Western India, they're ignored. Most of the history of the last 1300 years essentially focuses on the region between Khyber and Agra. Apparently, everything happened there only. There are Delhi is an important area. Don't get me wrong. But it's not the only important area of India. There are other areas too. This was one problem. That balance, wasn't there. The second issue was, of course, that this entire story of the last 1300 years is presented as a story of repeated defeats. Right? And the subtle, or in fact, not so subtle message given to us, our ancestors were either cowardly or disunited because they kept losing battles. All our ancestors were apparently doing for the last 1300 years. In summary, they were looking towards Khyber Pass for the next invader to come, and then there'd be a battle at Panipat, which we would obviously lose. And then there would be the next oppressor oppressing us till such time as the next oppressor comes. Right?
Yeah.
The only difference between the British and the Turks was the British came from the sea. Subtle message if you think about it. Why the British Raj came up with a historical narrative like this? Basically, to tell all of us Indians, it's your job to be slaves. You have been losing for a millennium and you have no way of getting out of this oppression. Sit quietly and suffer. That was the aim of the British Raj, understandable from their perspective. Why the hell did we continue with it after 1947? Because my same set of facts, my understanding of it is completely different. The same invaders who came here, Arabs, Turks, Persians, then Europeans, British, Portuguese, same invaders who came here went to every other ancient culture in the world. All those other ancient cultures are all dead. The Aztecs, Incas, Central America, dead. Zoroastrianism in Persia, dead. They survive out here in India. So many across the world, all dead. India is still standing. 1300 years, we are still standing.
Correct.
Same set of facts. My interpretation of it is the last 1300 years is not a story of repeated defeats. Last 1300 years is a story of the greatest resistance in human history. No indigenous culture anywhere in the world, Native Americans, no indigenous culture, Zoroastrianism, none of them have fought so hard and so long to protect their culture. Only our ancestors did. If there's an interpretation like this, we would feel proud of our ancestors. They weren't cowards, they weren't united, they weren't disunited. They were actually the toughest people around.
Yeah.
That is the real story of the last 1300 years. Indic Chronicles is to give that part of the story.
Okay.
It's not the story of the invaders who defeated us. It's a story of our ancestors who fought those invaders repeatedly for 1300 years.
Okay.
Our culture hasn't survived because of someone's charity. Our ancestors fought for it. They fought damn hard. And we should celebrate that resistance.
Okay.
That's what the Indic Chronicles is about.
Okay.
The greatest resistance by indigenous people in human history ever.
Okay. So when you chose Sohail Dev, he was a character whom many didn't know about. But then when we are talking about the Cholas and their contribution, at least in the South, I would like to believe that, people knew about what they did, their contribution and how mighty that dynasty was. So when you bring about a story like this again, aren't you like repeating whatever is being said? And also the fact that, we are just showing it again to the North that, okay, here there was a king, probably you don't know about him. So would you
Anushri, if
see
you
it
think
that way?
about it, the answer to your question is within your question itself. Why are our great ancestors reduced to regional history?
Okay.
Why is Chhatrapati Shivaji reduced just to Maharashtra history? Why are Emperor Rajaraja Chola and Rajendra Chola reduced just to Tamil history? Why is Emperor Bhoj reduced just to Madhya Pradesh, Chhattisgarh history?
Correct.
Why are the Gurjar Pratiharas reduced just to Western India, Gujarat, Maharashtra, that history? Rashtrakutas reduced only to Karnataka. Why? If you think about it, Emperor Rajendra Chola's empire, because he conquered much of Southeast Asia as well, Bay of Bengal was essentially Emperor Rajendra Chola's pond, right? His empire was as big as the empire of Akbar. That's not the impression we get from our history books. It's why are the stories of our ancestors reduced to regional history when the last 1300 years, the only national history are our invaders? Why is that?
Correct.
And this needs to be rebalanced. Emperor Rajendra Chola and Raja Chola were not just Tamil kings, they were Indian kings. They were our ancestors too. My father's family may have been from UP, mother's family from MP, but the Cholas are my culture too. When Emperor Rajendra Chola, when he conquered up to eastern India, conquered up to the Gangaji, he changed his title. He took the title Gangai Konda. It was clearly an emotional moment for him.
Correct.
He didn't change his title just because he conquered Southeast Asia.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah.
But he changed his title when he conquered up to Ganga.
Yeah.
He renamed his capital Gangai Konda Cholapura. Right? The one who got the Ganga waters.
Correct.
You see the strings of unity. And I'm not saying that everything was one religion, one culture, one language. I'm not saying that. Our nationalism was much more liberal and relaxed. We, of course, had our regional cultures, but we had our national unity as well. We must celebrate that.
Okay. So when we talk about his conquests, there's also a debate that, some of them, like we have also mentioned about the Sri Vijaya conquest that has happened. There is also a debate that says that his conquests were all brutal. While we are celebrating him, there was brutality as well. So what would you say about that?
There is war. And it's what war is. And I have family members who've been in the army, who've been in the police force. Yes, war is brutal. It's the nature of it. But there's a difference between those who fight war according to norms, which, let's be fair, some Western countries in the modern day do as well. They fight war according to norms. War will always be there. This thing that India was always a non-violent culture is not true. If we were a non-violent culture, we would have been dead. Okay, they would have massacred us. You have the privilege of being non-violent if there's someone standing in front of you who's willing to be violent to protect you. Otherwise, if you're purely non-violent, you will get killed. That's a reality, because some invader will come from outside, right?
Correct.
The question is, what is the scale at which you take war? Right? The Turks, for example, who were our primary invaders, but they also invaded, they destroyed much of Iran as well, by the way. They destroyed much of the Abbasid. They were the primary soldiers of the destruction of Abbasid Empire, which was a high point of Arab Islamdom, right? They were brutal conquerors in Game of Thrones. Have you seen Game of Thrones? The Dothraki?
Yeah.
They are based on the Turks.
Okay.
They were and if you want to take the emotions out and think about logic and think about it just as someone who loves history, they were the greatest killers the world has ever seen. They did nothing besides killing. Nothing. Administration for their empires was done by the Persians. Trade was done by the Arabs or the Venetians. They only did killing. They did nothing else. And they were the greatest killers the world has ever seen. Okay, there's a difference between that form of war. Timur killed he was a Turk. He killed 5% of the world's population in the 13th century.
Okay. Wow.
And remember those days, no nuclear bombs, no machine guns. Killing people was hard work, right? Stabbing, beheading.
Yeah.
He killed 5% of the world's population, Okay. They were brutal beyond measure. There's a difference between someone who's fighting even modern Europeans fight wars. People do fight wars. It's a reality. Every culture has fought wars. There's a difference between this and, like, my God, these guys are,
correct,
genocidal maniacs.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And to equate the two is, in my mind, not correct.
Okay.
Slightly disingenuous, if you ask me.
Okay. So now even Cholas, one would say that, one can argue that they are being used as a political tool. We have the PM talking about Rajendra Chola, the millennium anniversary and everything. And then you have even our Tamil Nadu CM also talking about Cholas. So do you think they are being used as a political tool, or do you think that, again, the spotlight is back on them and it's good in a way?
Anushri, the spotlight is going on many ignored heroes, not just the Cholas, across India. The Marathas, for example, spotlight has suddenly, they were ignored for so many decades. The Peshwas, for example, spotlight is coming on the Rashtrakutas, on the Parmars, and this is all, I think, a cultural reclaiming of our ancestors, and I think it's a good thing. Is there some politics with it? Yes, and one can't blame politicians for doing what politicians do, right? It's a job, right? But there is a cultural reawakening. The Lachit Borphukan is his memory is being revived in Assam. So many of our great heroes who had been forgotten. Culturally, I think it's a very good thing. Politically, look, politicians will do what they do, and you can't blame them. They have to get votes, right? That's their job. I mean, and Indians vote on such issues as well. I'm thinking from a cultural level, which is much deeper, which is much more long-term. From a long-term perspective, this is a very good thing.
Okay. So again, we'll come back to your books.
Isn't it nice if North Indians know about the Cholas? Isn't it nice if South Indians get to know of King Bhoj? It builds and King Bhoj and Emperor Bhoj and Emperor Rajendra Chola were allies, by the way.
Yeah.
Okay, but this is, it'll be a shock to the Northerners, it'll be a shock to the Southerners.
Yes.
But these things aren't spoken of in our history books.
Correct.
Emperor Bhoj was a scholar emperor. He'd written some 70, 80 books. He's not, even in the north, he's not spoken about. So sad. Right?
Yeah. So my next question was going to be based on that. So in the Legend of Suhail Dev, you had mentioned about the infighting that was happening, and there was this caste-based discrimination even when there was a leader. But in this book, we see that we are united. So there is unity in diversity. We have kings and merchants from other states coming down, and all of them are forming an ally. So was this like an intentional way to put it in the book? Like you wanted to show the divide earlier, but then here you wanted to show that we are standing together.
In King Suhaildev, the divisions are there and we overcome them. And I speak of the divisions in this book as well. If you see of the battle between the Chalukyas and the Cholas, I speak of that.
Yeah, you do.
And which did happen, right?
Yeah.
But then I speak of the unity that emerges later, of the differences between the Solankis and the Parmars. Solankis controlled Gujarat, southern Rajasthan, that area. The Parmars controlled Madhya Pradesh, Chhattisgarh, part of Rajasthan. The Parmars were a bigger empire at that time. I speak of the differences between them as well. And to me, this is one of the learnings of the last 1300 years. One learning I spoke of earlier already, of course, our ancestors were damn brave. We should be proud of them. But if there's a learning that we can hopefully try and imbibe from our ancestors, they were too disunited. They were too divided. And that was a flaw that we need to try and overcome. So I speak of that often in my books, because we've often lost to foreign invaders because we have been divided. Even as recently as in the British times, in the Jallianwala Bagh, I've given this example often. It was General Dyer. At that time, he wasn't a general, but it was he who had given the order. The people doing the actual firing were all Indians.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. None of them rebelled against their Gora boss. That these are my fellow Indians. They're women, children, old men. I'm not going to fire at them. They don't have arms. No, Gora boss has ordered fire on your own people. This was our fault. The British, frankly, used Indians, to oppress other Indians. There were only 100,000 British.
Correct.
They ruled us for 175 years.
Yeah.
Because there were many Indians willing to be traitors, willing to collaborate with them. And this is something that we need to learn. That's why I speak of it repeatedly in my books.
Okay.
There's internal divisions. We are diverse. It's a reality. We should celebrate our local cultures. But we should realize, and I quote a line in the book, that Kauravas may be 100, Pandavas may be 5, but if an outsider comes, we should be 105.
Yeah.
That attitude we must have, because whatever our internal divisions, when a foreigner comes and they want to oppress us, they see us all as Indians. They don't see us as Tamilians, Marathis, Bengalis, UPites, Kashmiris, Rajasthanis. No, they don't see us that way.
Yeah.
They see us all as Indians.
Yeah.
When attacks are happening on island, many Indians are being attacked. You think they're asking, are you a Tamilian? Are you a Maharashtrian? Are you a Bengali? You think they're asking that?
No.
Or they see an Indian and they just attack?
Correct.
That's a reality. Others are seeing us as that. And if we think we can ally with some foreigner against one of our own and it will benefit us, history of the last 1300 years is there in front of us.
Yeah.
That is a lesson we should draw.
Okay. There's also, you talk about communal amity. When in all your books, this is there, and in this particular book, we see about the Vavar community who join the war
against Mahmud Ghazni.
So again, that's a community which is not spoken about much. Maybe some of even my Kerala friends might not be knowing about the community. So again, this is a historical fiction. So why did you try to bring them in, or is it really recorded in the history that they were part of the squad? That
Look, this is historical fiction,
yes.
right? But historical fiction, when you write it with some aims. Like I said, my aim is to showcase unity. And this thought came to me, what the approach should be on this. From a great Malayali archaeologist, a legendary archaeologist called K.K. Mohammed Saab. I had interviewed him for a documentary.
Okay.
And he had told me something very beautiful, that Babur was from Uzbekistan. I'm an Indian Muslim. What do I have to do with him? And he said the issue that is happening on the Ram Janmabhoomi Ji temple, he says he doesn't see it as a Hindu-Muslim issue. It's an Indian foreigner issue, which is like it's such a much deeper way of looking at it.
Correct.
And our history books, our textbooks have done something very mischievously. British colonial Raj is not called the Christian invasion, but the Turkic colonial rule is called the Islamic invasion. It's very mischievous if you think about it. An attempt is being made to create fights between Hindus and Muslims today. What does an Indian Muslim have to do with Alauddin Khilji? I mean, Ahmad Faiz, who's an Indian Muslim, he said that in Agra, for example, when Akbar or Shah Jahan ruled, who were Timurids, Indian Muslims, Paswanda Muslims weren't allowed into the fort. Some upper caste Hindus were,
Okay.
right? Some Rajputs were allowed, for example, but Indian Muslims were not allowed. They said they were as oppressed. Okay. And we should call the Turkic colonial rule what it was, Turkic colonial rule. And not carry historical guilt, community guilt down. We must be united.
Okay. So you mentioned about it being a historical fiction, right? So when you make it as a fiction and we are using facts, where do you draw the line of the fictional aspects of the story?
Yeah, a very good question. Look, the reality of writing historical fiction is there'll always be basic facts, and then you have to try and put a story together for two reasons. One, real life usually actually does not make sense. If you actually go through your own real life, many things actually don't make sense why it happened. But a story that you're reading, you expect it to make sense, right? So that is one aspect. 5 reasons have to be made. Secondly, real life is usually boring, actually, right? Which is why many pure history books are boring, right?
Yeah.
You have to make it, you have to add in the storytelling style into it, and that's the very nature of historical fiction. Now, obviously, some facts are so obviously wrong that you can't use it. I can't have Emperor Rajendra Chola fighting Aurangzeb. That's wrong, right? But Mahmud Ghazni and Emperor Rajendra Chola were at the same time. And there's a nature of historical fiction. Obviously, you have to update the story a bit. Braveheart, the Western movie, had done that. Ponniyin Selvan in Tamil Nadu, it doesn't follow the exact story of Emperor Raja Chola. Nandini's character, and I've said it often, I think one of the finest characters I've read ever. A lot of it is fiction, we all know, right? So that's the nature of historical fiction. It has to be done that way.
Okay. So in the book, while we say that it is about the Cholas and we are celebrating Rajendra Chola, we see him only in few portions of the book. It's mostly the general and the other the band of that moves to kill Muhammad Ghazni. So, like you had left Easter eggs in Legend of Suhail Dev, I want to assume that there are some Easter eggs even in this book, and probably you will be exploring Rajendra Chola even more, maybe as a second part of the book. So,
It's
am I right?
your job to find the Easter eggs.
I think I have
but
found
they are
a few.
there. But they are there. Look, again, because the thing in historical fiction, you can't do some things which are obviously wrong. Emperor Rajendra Chola was around 55-60 at the time of the events that happened.
Yeah.
So I can't show him riding up the mountain because he has become oldish, right? And by the standards of those days, that was actually it's difficult for, in those days, if you're 55-60 to fight battles. Even these days is difficult. So obviously, I couldn't suddenly make him a 30-year-old man, right? And the time had to be after the destruction of Somnathji. So which is why, so look, whenever I wrote of him, I write of him with a lot of awe, because whatever research I've done on him, I think like, my God, what a man, right? Like the same feeling I had when I do research on Chhatrapati Shivaji, like, my God, what a man. And I would, if I write a book, it'll be with sheer awe, right? So I think that probably comes out in the books. Whenever I describe him, when people are going to meet him, there's a lot of, which I genuinely felt when I was describing him, that Emperor Rajendra Chola has come, right? Because by that time he's already done such fantastic achievements, right?
Correct.
But there are Easter eggs, which you're job to find out.
Okay. So again, talking about your research, so you have written mythological fiction. That's mostly about Puranas and everything, and you have everything at your disposal. So you read about it a lot. But when it comes to history like this, when you're talking about the Turks, you're talking about different civilizations you're mentioning, and then you're talking about different dynasties. So what kind of research goes into this?
You make a good point, because there are texts available,
Hmm.
both on our side and from the invaders'
Okay.
sides. Translations are difficult to come by.
Hmm.
So what you read often is commentaries on it, right?
Hmm,
What are called secondary sources. So there's someone later who would have studied like
Correct.
Tariq-e-Farishte, for example, and written a commentary on it. So you're forced to study on that.
Hmm.
Otherwise, I have to wait for, say, scholars like Vikram Sampath or Sanjeev Sanyal or Abbas Maldiya to study the because they know the primary language, right? And then they can translate.
Yeah.
There are secondary sources available for many of these
Okay.
for many of these texts, which one can study.
Okay.
Both are Indian traditions and those traditions, and of course, traveling to those places. Now, I couldn't travel to Ghazni, obviously. I'm not attempting that.
Yeah.
But obviously, Gangaikonda, Chodapuram, all these, you visit these places, you learn that much more as well.
Yeah. Can you tell about your visits to these places? What did you
beautiful,
feel?
That, I mean, whatever pictures you see of Brihadeshwara temple and the others, my God, when you see it the first time, still, it's how can a structure be so imposing and so delicate at the same time, right? There are contradictions, right? Because if something is imposing, it tends to be most of the art, it tends to be severe, tends to be, and if something is delicate, it tends to be, when it's very ornate, it tends to be kind of smaller. This is like, it's a rare mix. It's fantastic, man. What talent they had. You look closely through all the it's so ornate, the temples, the architecture.
Okay.
And actually all across, I mean, if you see, I love the Belur style as well, the Hoysala temples. I mean, fantastic. The Vijayanagar side. In the north, most of the ancient temples were destroyed, as you know. So if you want to see our ancient temples, you have to come to South India. But all of them are just, I can just keep touring around them and praying at them forever.
Okay.
And many of them are actually living temples in the south.
So in the towards the end of the book, you talk about about prophecies, and there are three prophecies. And somewhere when we come to the third prophecy, we are drawing parallels between what they had said and what is happening now. Again, is it true or is it fictionalized?
No, that is fictionalized. But I actually, the 1,000-year prophecy. Now, there are things in the north, it's believed that the destruction of the Somnathji temple was a turning point. There were destructions of temples earlier in the Arab invasions as well. The Sun temple at Multan had been destroyed, but it was rebuilt and was never at this scale. After the Somnathji destruction, there was like a wave. And across North India, very quickly, many temples were destroyed. So many North Indians, the Pandit traditions is believed that Somnathji was a major turning point. And Somnathji itself was destroyed 17 times, rebuilt every single time, but destroyed 17 times. But you can see our culture reviving now. Right? I think in many ways, the invaders couldn't get deep into the south because the north kept fighting. They never surrendered. But our culture had to withdraw into houses. We couldn't celebrate. There are many things which I discovered only when I studied in the south in the 1980s. Ceremonies that you guys do at temples. In the north, the tradition is you do it at home because actually it was unsafe to do that ceremony. Upanayana, for example, it was unsafe to do it at a temple. Someone would come and kill you, so you had to do it at home. The Shubh Muhurt, the time to do the weddings, if you notice in the north, usually comes like right midnight, very late. Not so in South Indian weddings. It comes at normal. Yeah, it comes at ordinary times. Even the ancient things that you see of our kings or even the gods when they got married, it was at ordinary times. It's only now in the north. And one of the theories I have is because, again, it was unsafe to do it at daytime. Because many of the Turkic invaders used to believe that on the first night they have a right to kind of capture the bride and then they'll return her the next day, obviously. So they wanted to get married late at night, so it's quiet. So this was how actually the culture survived in a way. But now there's a revival that many of the ceremonies, we are going back to the temples in the north. Things which you see as ordinary in the south is actually a revival
Oh.
in the north.
Okay.
So I just think that maybe that it kind of makes sense that there's a revival after, and 1,000 years is
Yeah.
getting over, right?
Yeah.
Now?
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's a 1,000-year prophecy.
Yes.
That 1,000 years later, after the destruction of Somnathji, it will be the best time.
Yeah.
Probably among the best times to be an Indian in the last many centuries.
And you're also calling out Indians, maybe the readers, to save their civilization. Like you mentioned early on in the conversation that how many civilizations have vanished, and even in the book you mentioned that you have through dialogues you mentioned that. So again, there is a call that you make, and for
because the responsibility is ours. If we've forgotten so much post-independence. If our ancestors could survive those brutal invasions, are we going to lose our culture because we modern Indians are more lost in hamburgers and our Instagram feed? I mean, it's terrible, man. Our ancestors fought insurmountable odds, right? So many invasions, and they kept fighting and kept our culture alive. And what we're just, after all these sacrifices, we're going to be lazy and focus on our Instagram feed. I'm not saying that's not important.
Yeah.
And hamburgers, and all of us want to, don't call me Mukesh, call me Mike. All of us want to become American. There are good things in Western culture, and we are speaking English right now, right? Learn those things, but don't forget our roots.
Yeah.
It's our duty to honor the sacrifices our ancestors made. Culture is not about the worship of ashes. It's about the preservation of fire. That is our job. It's not just to say, oh, we were so great in the past. No, yes, we were, but that's not the main aim. Main aim is to preserve the fire now, so that we can pass it on to the next generation.
Yeah. And you recently ventured into gaming as well. You have Age of Bharat. Now, when I read this book, I feel that this can also become like a game, because there's a lot of action sequences that are there. So, do you plan on using this as a script for a game in this series?
Actually, you make a good point. Let me think about it. I'll think about it.
I'm happy I put that seed in. Yeah. So, and you also have podcasts, you have documentaries, and then you write, and then you have gaming. So, how do you have
movie also? There's a movie coming out early next year.
Oh,
Lord
okay.
Krishna.
Okay. Yeah. So then how do you have so many tabs open, so to say, in your brain that, and you navigate it so perfectly without confusing the stories or, bringing this here or that there. So how do you do that?
I'm a workaholic. And luckily I have a great wife. For most men, if there's mental peace, you can handle anything. I have a really awesome wife, and I'm a workaholic. 2 simple reasons.
Okay. So when you say you're a workaholic, you've also mentioned that you're an avid reader, and you read a lot, right? So can I know what you're reading currently?
Currently, actually, I just finished, and that was a long read. The Singularity is Near and Singularity is Nearer. Ray Kurzweil's books. Fantastic. I read more non-fiction, by the way. And AI is going to impact everything. You want to understand AI and how new tech is actually going to impact our world. You can't do better than Ray Kurzweil's books. And I'm going through a series of books now by this British historian called David Starkey, who has run the really magisterial books on how England and the UK were created from King Alfred onwards, right? So 1200, 1300 years ago. Fantastic books. And of course, he's a lover of the British Empire. And the way I see it, your mind expands when you're willing to read someone who has a different point of view, right? Someone whose point of view you may not agree with, right? And these days, actually, we don't do that enough. We only want to be in our echo chambers and want to hear those who reinforce our point of view. But then you don't grow, na? Yeah. It's only when you interact with someone who disagrees with you that your mind grows, right? Because that's when your mind gets exercised, right? That I never thought of it this way, right? And I always believe if you want to read someone from an opposing point of view, there can be 2 strategies. One, read the idiot, okay, which will make you feel superior. You see that in TV panel debates, na? If the anchor is on one side, the other side he'll get some idiot and say, look at this idiot, right? And make you feel superior. Yeah. Or a better thing is go to the best thinker in the opposing side. Read him or her. Then actually you're forced to think and expand your mind. So I would suggest Starkey's books as well. Really good books.
I would just like to know what going to come next from your desk? Because I think after Legend of Suhail Dev and Ravan, I think it's now taken 3 years for you to come up with this book. So what's
My
next?
apologies. Yeah, it took time. But now subsequent books will come a lot quicker. I think the next immediate thing will probably be the movie.
Okay.
Radha Ramanam. It's based on Lord Krishna. That'll come out by early 26.
Okay.
There's a non-fiction book planned in 26. The game Age of Bharat will come early 27.
Okay.
There should be another fiction book in 27 as well.
Okay.
Yeah, tons of stuff happening.
Okay.
And the podcast will continue.
Okay.
And documentaries as well.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much for giving us time and giving us this
Thank you.
interview.
Thank you,
and
Anushri.
all the best.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Really enjoyed the interview.